What's up, it's Timmons here. Now, with a new Mel Brooks documentary premiering this week called Mel Brooks, the 99-Year-Old Man, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite Mel Brooks directed films. The guy is just, he's a comedy legend. He's directed loads of great stuff. I mean, heck, he's coming back for Spaceballs 2 next year. That I can't wait to see. The guy is 99 years old, and he's has no plans on slowing down at all. The guy's just one of the best. So here is my official top 10 favorite Mel Brooks directed films. All right. Coming in at number 10 is Life Stinks. Life Stinks is actually one of Mel Brooks' first movies that he directed that was not a spoof of anything. Because majority of his movies were mostly spoofs here and there. But Life Stinks is more a satire comedy about a wealthy businessman named Godard Boat who bets that he can survive living on the streets for 30 days without anyone realizing he's rich here. And you do got some really great cast members like Leslie Ann Warren, Michael Lerner, Jeffrey Tambor. I mean, the comedy Misadventures with other homeless characters is really hilarious here. Mel Brooks, of course, he led the film. He really does play the part very well. This was one of the few times where it was a while since he actually led a movie before he directed this, and he did a good job here. I mean, if you guys have not seen Life Stinks, it got released in when did it got released again? 1991. It is a really hilarious one. Really well. Definitely give that one a go. All right, number 9 is Robin Hood, Man of Tights in Tights. Now, this is, of course, a parody of the Robin Hood films, that starred Errol Flynn. And this stars Cary Elwes, Dave Chappelle. Of all things, who would ever expect Dave Chappelle being in a Mel Brooks film? You do got, the late, great Richard Lewis, Eric Idle. And this is, of course, where, Robin Hood, who at the time, there was also the, 1991 Kevin Costner film. And between this and the Kevin Costner one, I think this Robin Hood is a tad bit better, more really. Here, of course, you got Robin Hood, who returns from the Crusades to find his beloved kingdom under the rule of a corrupt Prince John here. And it's a really hilarious one, to say the least. Really fun moments throughout, like the musical number "Man in Tights," the comic relief of Rabbi Tuckman, played by Mel Brooks. The archery scenes. This was one of Dave Chappelle's earliest roles, and he was hilarious. I mean, it's such a really good one if you guys haven't seen that. Probably one of my favorite Robin Hood movies. Maybe next to The Fox, but no. Alright. Number 8 is Dracula, Dead and Loving It. This movie was actually the last movie that Mel Brooks ever directed. And this is, of course, a spoof of the Bela Lugosi Dracula film, starring the king of spoofs himself, Leslie Nielsen, which I always thought Leslie Nielsen has done more movies with Mel Brooks, but he's not really done other Mel Brooks movies before. But Dracula, Dead and Loving It is a really classic. I mean, of course, you do got Peter McNulty. Nico was also in this one. This here, you got Count Dracula, played by Leslie Nielsen, who comes to England to spread terror, but met with bumbling heroes and all. It also stars Amy Asbeck, who was actually married to John Ritter at the time. She was great in this one. It is a really hilarious Dracula film. Loads of fun moments. The Shadow Clyde Perry of Nosferatu is great. The humorous bite neck moments is really hilarious. You know what? This is actually a movie I think that you could definitely do a new version today. Especially with all the vampire movies we have nowadays, like with Twilight, Sinners, and stuff. Nosferatu. I would love to see some sort of reboot of Dracula, Dead and Loving It, but who knows? I mean, you can't really top Leslie Nielsen, obviously, but Leslie Nielsen was the king when it comes to spoofs, and Dracula, Dead and Loving It was one of them. All right, Shindead, this was actually his last movie he directed. He's produced stuff before, since he was a producer on the remake of The Producers and all, but this was actually the last time he actually directed something, which that's actually fortunate. Although he was a director on the recent History of the World series, but there's that. All right, number 7 is, speaking of History of the World, History of the World Part 1. Which, by the way, the TV show that premiered a couple years ago on Hulu, that show should have had another season. That show was awesome. But History of the World Part 1, featured the likes of Madeline Kahn, Harvey Korman, Dom DeLuise, Cloris Leachman. It is, of course, a series of comedic sketches spanning the Stone Age to the French Revolutionary here. And Mel Brooks is great. Like, obviously, you got a couple of memorable scenes from Moses ascending with the Ten Commandments. Obviously, of Harry of the Ten Commandments at the time. The caveman sequence of Harry prehistoric life. It's just such a really hilarious one. Really play on historical times, in more of a comedic way here. And Mel Brooks did a great job. If you guys have not seen History of the World Part 1, give it a go. And check out History of the World Part 2. That did not really last too long, but History of the World Part 2 was actually not so bad. All right. Coming in at number 6 is Silent Movie. Now, this is, of course, a parody of the silent movie genre. You got also the likes of Marty Feldman, Dom DeLuise, Liza Minnelli. And it's a slapstick comedy about a down-on-his-luck filmmaker who is trying to make a comeback by producing a silent movie. And the film, and only to, face ridiculous obstacles along the way. And the film is actually silent at times with some occasional dialogue here and there. Obviously, this movie came out around 1976, where silent movies was sort of fading at the time. But they were obviously trying to capitalize on the silent movie praise and stuff like that. And yeah, Mel Brooks definitely playing a little bit of a Charlie Chaplin type character is hilarious throughout. The slapstick piano and sound gag is hilarious. You got celebrities appearing as himself, from Anne Bancroft to Liza Minnelli, many others. It's such a really good one. Dom DeLuise is hilarious. Dom DeLuise was always hilarious. I mean, R.I.P. to him there. Number 5 is High Anxiety. Now, this is, of course, a parody of the of Alfred Hitchcock films, and this is where Dr. Richard H. Thorndike, who is a psychiatrist with high anxiety, who investigates sinister plots at the Psycho Institute for the very, very nervous here. You do got folks like Dick Van Patten, Harvey Korman, Cloris Leachman. The vertical rolling staircases is hilarious. Of course, it was there was a fun parody of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. This movie is more of a love letter to Alfred Hitchcock and stuff, and it's such a really good one. If you guys have not seen High Anxiety, give it a go. That's just a 70s classic right there. Number 4 is The Producers. Now, of course, he mostly directed the original, but this is a comedy where a down on his luck producer and his accountant scheme to produce a Broadway flop called Springtime for Hitler. And here you got Zero Mostel, the legendary Gene Wilder. The outrageous music number from Springtime with Hitler is pretty fun. Leah Bloom's navigating the chaotic rehearsal here. It's such a you do got Madeline Kahn was also great in this as well. It is a really decent, hilarious musical comedy that's definitely well worth a watch there. All right, this was actually the first movie that Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks actually collaborated on. Now I got a couple of other Gene Wilder stuff on this list, just like this one. Number 3 is a movie that will never get made today, Blazing Saddles. Obviously, this is a satire take on westerns and racism in America, where a corrupt politician appoints a black sheriff to a racist frontier town, and he teams up with a local cowboy hero to save the town here. It is led by Cleveland Little and Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn. Of course, you got Harvey Korman. Loads of really fun moments about the iconic dialogue about racism here. The out of control train wreck finale that crashes through the studio lot is hilarious, which obviously that was always a fun scene. Gene Wilder is great. My favorite thing with Gene Wilder will always be Willy Wonka, obviously, but this definitely is up there as one of my other favorite Gene Wilder roles. It's such a really hilarious one. Obviously a movie about a look at racism. That of course that was pretty major. At the time. There are some stuff in this that would not go well today. Yeah, it is a little. Let's just say, it might be a little politically incorrect nowadays, but it is a really good one to say at least. I mean, if you guys have not seen Blazing Saddles, give that one a go. All right, number 3. Right, so that one. Number 2 is another film that actually came out the same year, by the way. So cool year for Mel Brooks. Number 2 is another Gene Wilder film, Young Frankenstein. Obviously a parody of the Boris Karloff Frankenstein movie, or as he'll like to say, Frankenstein. It's such a really classic one. Gene Wilder's great. You got Peter Boyle from Everybody Loves Raymond fame playing the monster. He's terrific. Marty Feldman, who I've always liked Marty Feldman. He always had like some interesting, big eyes there. Marty Feldman was a legend. Yeah. Of course, you got like Terry Garr, Cloris Leachman. It's just such a really terrific one. Full on black and white. It was like a love letter to like the Universal Monsters that came out around that era and stuff. It's just such a really good one. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely give that one a go. And my number 1 favorite Mel Brooks movie is we got the sequel coming out next year. So number 1 is Spaceballs. Of course, a sci-fi parody of Star Wars and other space epics. Where you got the evil Dark Helmet who tries to steal the princess's Vespa's planet. To fuel the dark side economy while like rogue pilot Lone Star and his half-man, half-dog sidekick Barf comes to the rescue here. Again, we got a sequel coming next year, a long-awaited sequel with Mel Brooks coming back in front of the camera, by the way. So that's going to be cool to see. You got Rick Moranis coming back. Can't wait to see that one. Rick Moranis was great here at playing Dark Helmet, just hilarious. John Candy as the Barf character. Daphne Zuniga. Of course, you have cameos by the likes of Joan Rivers. Dick Van Patten was also in this one. It's just such a hilarious film. Definitely a sci-fi comic classic. Love the parody of Aliens, that with the chestbusters scene, which that also featured the great John Hurt. So that's pretty cool there too. But yeah, if you guys never seen Spaceballs, to be honest, it is probably one of the best Star Wars movies there is. It's just such a good one. One of the best spook movies there is. Really fun one-liners. It is hilarious. Definitely an 80s comic classic right there. But that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, Life Stinks. 9, Robin Hood Men in Tights. 8, Dracula Dead and Loving It. 7, History of the World Part 1. 6, Silent Movie. 5, High Anxiety. 4, The Producers. 3, Blazing Saddles. 2, Young Frankenstein. And number 1 is Spaceballs. And that's pretty much it. He didn't really direct a whole lot of stuff there. But the guy, has put out some great stuff over the years. But let me let you guys. What are some of your favorite Mel Brooks directed films? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Simus and sign out.